Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 162nd ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I guess I'm doing great, Cameron. This is, we're on a streak here of doing these like 7 a.m. episodes here, but I think I found the secret to waking up early.
Let's hear it.
It's this new feature I found on my phone. It's like alarm clock. Just wakes me up. Right? No, I'm just kidding. It's actually cold showers.
Wow.
I've been taking cold showers for like maybe
insane.
A couple months now.
In the mornings?
Just in general, every shower I take is like cold, and it like gives me that shot of energy.
That sounds like the worst thing ever.
It is the worst thing ever, but I promise it's worth it. It's apparently it's like good for you.
I've heard that.
A lot of good stuff.
Not worth it.
Are you still drinking? What's that stuff? The nasty stuff?
Apple cider vinegar?
Yeah.
I'm not currently, but I mean, I do.
Put those two together, you'd be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like cold shower, like sipping apple cider vinegar in your cold shower.
That's a little egregious, but I agree. I'd probably live forever.
You'd be too powerful. We'd have to stop you. Well, I
recommend it. Anybody out there that's looking for something to really challenge themselves.
Hot showers. Too much.
Hotter the better.
If I'm getting ready in the morning, sometimes I'm later than I plan to be just because I'm just going to hang out here because it's nice and warm.
Yes.
That's probably like most people in the world, yeah.
And it's literally...
And just
it's
keep turning it up.
I enjoy that too.
He's trying to save your life.
I'm probably roasting myself. Yep. I'm probably half cooked.
Something. Kyle, did you watch the Cardinals game last night?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I stayed up for it felt like really late. I guess it wasn't that late.
If they were going to lose like that, I wish Albert Pujols would have just hit the home run.
I actually had that exact same thought where I was like, Albert Pujols came up to bat in extra innings, and I thought that this was going to be poetic here, and I obviously didn't want him to hit a home run, but...
Yeah. But knowing what happened...
Yeah. I'm like, you might as well just have Albert... knock us out of the playoffs.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was a very long game. I watched every at bat of the whole game, and I wish I didn't. But here we are.
It wasn't fulfilling.
I mean, it was a good game. It was entertaining. It just ended terribly, unless you're a Dodgers fan, and then that was awesome.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about how annoying it would be to win 106 games and then lose in a one-game winner-go-home situation.
Yeah, that kind of sucked for the Dodgers to have to be in that situation at all, winning 106 games this year. But
I feel like there's always, in like every major sport playoff situation, there's always an argument for like forget divisions for seeding and just seed according to record for the conference or league. And that would have solved this problem in this case. But I don't know. There's something about like, I guess winning your division should mean something is the other argument, but that's neither here nor there. We're
just trying to put off talking about something else.
I'll put it off a little bit longer. Don't forget, everyone, to hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Leave us a review on the podcast service that you're listening on. We really appreciate all of that. And feel free to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. You can support us directly there and get some perks for doing so. Just like Ben did. He's our guest picker for SEC Pick'em Plus Nebraska this week. Still trying to avoid talking about the Tennessee game.
What else can you say?
Oh my goodness. We're not gonna do a whole recap of this game because it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And what's the point in talking about it? But big picture, Missouri looked just as bad or worse on defense than they ever have in their history, and it is adding to what is now a historically bad Missouri defense, specifically rushing defense. It's just unbelievable. Tennessee called their shot. The Tennessee running backs before the game said, we're going to have fun. And most Mizzou fans said, yeah, you probably will. Yeah. And then they had more fun than anybody expected.
Yeah. The guy that's Evans, I believe, is the running back that said the quote about we're going to have some fun against Missouri. I think he had like 4 touchdowns, probably in like the first half or something. Like it was, the most accurate statement ever. And we all knew that was probably going to happen, but I'm not sure we ever saw this coming. We knew Missouri's defense was bad, especially the run defense. That's what they've shown all year. But what they have not shown, and what they did against Tennessee, was completely lay down, not fight back at all, and just say, here's the win, here you go, congratulations, we're going to just not play football today. And that was what I didn't see coming, and that was what was very disappointing.
Yeah, Josh Heupel treated Mizzou like we were Delaware State and just destroyed us. And basically, they threw the ball 19 times, ran the ball 59 times. So, and Evans, one of those rushes was a 92-yard touchdown run.
Yeah. I literally don't even know what to say about this because, last week I felt like we kind of like were recommending everybody zoom out, just kind of relax, like it's going to be okay. And I mean, in the long run, I think everything's going to be fine. But it just was like, whoa, never mind. Yeah. Everything's horrible. Right. And I guess that's kind of where I stopped defending the team, is whenever they clearly look like they have no interest in trying. They gave up. They had no interest in playing that game. And the first quarter was the worst quarter of football I've ever watched, probably.
28-3.
Yeah. So I guess that's the point where I just say, okay, you guys are on your own until you figure something out here. I'm done defending you until we figure something out here.
Yeah. Because it's basically like, okay, there are fans out there who were saying like, okay, like this season isn't over. This defense can maybe, this has been really bad, but surely it can't get much worse than this. They're going to be able to figure a few things out.
We were in every game we'd played. Yeah. Even the losses, we had combined losses of like 14 points.
Right.
Like, it wasn't that bad.
And then the defense, the team, mostly the defense, was like, hey, everybody that's been, sticking up for us, we're not. We're going to make your takes look awful this week.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, everybody that was saying the sky is falling, like, unfortunately, you were right. At least at this point in the season, it looked like you've been right. So where do we go from here? Missouri's made a change. They fired their defensive line coach, Jethro Franklin. That's a start. Something had to be done. I'm not normally the fire everybody guy, but something had to be done, and I think that was the right move.
Yeah.
And I think it sends a message to your team that, we're willing to make changes if that's what's going to make things better. If that's what, we're going to support you guys. We want to win games. Something has to change, and hopefully that maybe sparks something in the players. Maybe reassures some trust in Coach Drink that he's, going to go to great lengths to make sure that they're in the best position to win. And I don't envy Coach Drinkwitz at all, having to balance 80, 90 players and all of their individual desires and, playing time and all that. There's a lot that goes into this whole complex scenario, and he's got to balance it all and make sure we're winning on top of that and keep everybody intact. So, just keeping an eye on Twitter this week and stuff. There's players that are upset about how the season's gone, about how their playing time. There's a lot going on, but I hope that this move to change defensive line coaches maybe is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, 5 games into his Mizzou career, he is no longer the defensive line coach, and they just kind of promoted from within. Took like a defensive analyst type person, and promoted him to D-line coach. Man, Drinkwitz was basically like, this was a hard call to make, but he kind of just made it seem like it was the obvious thing for him to do. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like changes like this are just for the sake of change, but this is complete speculation on my part, but it kind of seemed from Coach Drinkwitz talking about the situation that this maybe was something that he was preparing to do going back a couple weeks ago, because he didn't act like this was much of a spur of the moment thing. He acted like, obviously several weeks of bad play and maybe stuff that he was seeing in practice or in meetings and stuff had led to that being the change that needed to be made at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, again, massive speculation on my part. I'm not in the locker room. I haven't talked to any of the players. I don't know, but when things are that bad and a position coach gets fired 5 games into their career, I mean, it's been terrible on the field. I know that, but it usually seems like an indicator that there's something else going on.
Right.
Maybe a disconnect behind the scenes. Maybe the players don't want to play for this coach. Like, clearly, we watch the players lay down and give up. And that doesn't happen if you enjoy playing for the coaches. Like, if there's a good connection between the coaches and the players, I feel like you find a way to keep battling. And this whole situation just kind of feels like there was something going on behind the scenes. Maybe there was a disconnect. Maybe it was worse than a disconnect.
Right.
But I don't know. It just, when all those things are happening, it seems like there's something needs to change.
Yeah. Well, this marks, I believe, the first time under Coach Drinkwitz that a Missouri team has not battled back when they kind of got hit in the mouth in game and made it a close game at some point later on. That's something that we always remark on, is that Coach Drinkwitz teams don't seem to lay down. Even if they get down early, they battle back, they make it a close game, they give themselves a chance to win. Really hard to do that when you go down 28-3 in the first quarter. And that's just too big of a hole and way too fast. And It just would be so demoralizing to be in that situation, to think about, it's still just the first quarter, but 28-3 is just...
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a high school team playing Alabama.
Yeah.
And, like, in that situation, the high school team knows they're not coming back.
Right.
And whenever you're getting beat that badly, and it's like Missouri knows that's the problem. They know they can't stop the run. Tennessee knows they can't stop the run, but they can't do anything about it. That's what's most demoralizing, is how do you get back in this game when you know you physically cannot stop Tennessee from scoring every single time they have the ball?
And then, just like they talked about during the broadcast, the offense comes out and feels like they have to score every single drive. Yeah. And Connor Bazelak is not at a point in his Mizzou career where he can shoulder that kind of load.
Yeah, he's a grinded out, he's not normally an explosive playmaker constantly. He can be, but
he's an excellent quarterback when Missouri has the lead, or is kind of playing a little bit more of a field position battle, playing more of a chess match. When it is just a pure shootout, he is not... I don't know.
He's a little bit limited.
Yeah. But
that's fine.
For, an average to slightly below average defensive performance game in and game out, I think he's more than capable of keeping Missouri in any game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every time Missouri offense trots out there, they're in crisis mode. It's just gets a little bit exhausting.
So there's been a lot of fun tweets and things bringing up the stats so far this season, specifically for Missouri's defense. They're worst in the country in all of FBS in rushing yards given up per game by quite a bit. And they are near the bottom in pretty much every team defensive category. It's just kind of insane to look at those kind of rankings and see Missouri, first of all, like a few spots worse than Kansas, and just like all of the like perennial doormat teams of every single conference. Missouri's worse than all of them in rushing defense.
We haven't even played Georgia yet.
Right.
We haven't even played anybody that good.
Florida is like one of the top rushing attacks in the country. Georgia, they always are. Yeah. Texas A&M, they lost their quarterback, so they're going to be running the ball a ton.
Yeah. I have a stat that I wanted to share from Gabe DeArmond, just kind of showing how bad Missouri has been in rushing defense this year. So Missouri's giving up 308 rushing yards per game. That is 45 yards more per game than any other team in the country. if Missouri holds North Texas to 0 yards rushing on Saturday, and every other team in the country gives up its average number of rushing yards, the Tigers will rise all the way up to 129th in the country instead of 130th.
That's doable. We'll climb the rankings there.
Yeah. If Missouri does not give up a single rushing yard the rest of the season, it would be the 53rd best run defense in the country. So that just kind of shows you this inescapable hole almost that Missouri has dug themselves into. Just unprecedented, terrible performance.
I was looking at SEC stats, and Georgia's defense is the best in the country by quite a bit. They're only giving up 4.6 points per game. So Georgia's total points allowed this season is 23. Missouri's points per game given up this season is 38. So Georgia's defense on the season as a whole, 15 points better than Missouri's average points per game defense.
What was that stat you said about how many points they're giving up per game? Georgia
4.6 points per game.
That's not really Missouri related, but that's just
177 yards of offense they give up per game.
That's not fair. They have an NFL defense.
Yeah, that's
Missouri's gonna have to play Georgia.
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
So since the Tennessee game went final, we talked about Missouri fired Jethro Franklin. Then there was no depth chart for the practices this week, at least the Wednesday practice. Coach Drinkwitz was basically like, all jobs are on the table. Nobody's job is safe. We're going to compete this week in practice, and then we'll see who plays on Saturday.
Yep, just starting over, fresh start. I'm fine with that. Just open it up, see who performs, get some young guys some play potentially. Kind of this season, unfortunately, all bets are off, and it's unfortunate that we're to that point like 5 games in, but that's pretty much how it's going, and just time to see who's going to step up. Even if we have to burn a few red shirts, that's probably going to happen. Guys that maybe you wouldn't have normally, but we got to figure out how to win the next game.
Yeah,
and if that's how we do it, then that's how it's got to be done.
Cornerback Ennis Rakestraw tore his ACL in practice, so he is done. So somebody's going to have to step up at the cornerback position. We do have depth there, thank goodness, but that hasn't been like the worst position on the defense so far this season.
Yeah.
So that sucks for him.
Yeah, that's still a big loss. And
he tweeted that he'd been dealing with a knee issue since the end of the Kentucky game.
Yeah, I remember seeing him get hurt in one of those early games and just hoping he was okay, but I don't know how much that was affecting his play, but yeah, sounds like in practice he tore the ACL this week.
And he commented about people talking about him leaving.
It seems he's kind of been a hot topic on Twitter. Just I don't really know how to read Ennis Rakestraw. Like he's doesn't have any Mizzou stuff on his Twitter at all, but I think it's been that way for a little while. But it does. I mean, if you really want to get into reading the tea leaves on Twitter, it does kind of feel like I don't know how to read Ennis Rakestraw, but sometimes that's just a dangerous game to play whenever you're trying to get the feel for somebody and how they feel about something you're on the outside looking in on. But I hope he sticks around. He's a great player. So he's got some time to sit and think, though, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then Coach Drink was asked about Mookie Cooper's availability and health, and he said Cooper is 100% ready to go, and kind of made me believe that he will get quite a bit of playing time this coming Saturday.
Yeah, I could see that. And I'd like to I think he's going to be great in that role that he's played a little bit this year, just kind of some reverse plays and stuff like that. But I would like to see them try to get him the ball down the field a little bit more too.
Yeah, and with the practices being like 4 starting jobs this week and competing for starting jobs, and there being like no depth chart, I still think we can kind of look at the offense and feel pretty confident that probably not a whole lot is going to change
Yeah.
as far as who gets most of the snaps on offense.
Yeah, I'm assuming the open season was
Yeah.
on defense for sure. I mean,
I don't see Connor Bazelak losing his job. If that was in the cards whatsoever, then we would have seen somebody else come in and play a little bit of quarterback against Tennessee. Is that something that you would have liked to see? I kind of thought in a blowout like that, but maybe I'm just used to like the Gary Pinkel days of just like always working in a younger quarterback for like a series here and there. Coach Drinkwitz doesn't really seem interested in doing something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to see Tyler Macon go in there and get a little bit of experience for maybe a team that he might be leading down the road. I would have been perfectly fine with that. I also was perfectly fine with letting Bazelak maybe try and figure out some of the issues he was having. He kind of struggled early in the game, so it
Pressure's off
gave
at
him
that point.
Gave him a chance to kind of maybe change his momentum going into the weekend and just finish strong. I don't know that he really did that, but at least they gave him the opportunity.
Yeah, coach said he just, needs all the reps he can get.
Right.
A lot of players do, so that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on like the Tennessee game, the defense in general? Maybe we can touch base with you after we talk about North Texas, but Missouri does have an opportunity here to have a little bit of a bounce back.
Yeah, I guess all I would say is this game, it's almost never as bad as it truly seems. I don't want to be too high or too low here. This was obviously a horrible game that I don't want to think about anymore, but Missouri is more talented than they've shown obviously in that game and probably this entire year. I think some of these things are fixable. I hope that we're going in the right direction here with some of the changes that we've made. It'll be really interesting to see how Missouri responds this week, and obviously a little lesser opponent than Tennessee. So I don't know. Hope we see a little more fight. If Missouri's playing as hard as they did last week, it's going to be a very difficult season to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what the defensive line looks like under a little bit new leadership. And Drinkwitz has talked about how like he literally said like, I've got a lot to worry about with the offense. I can't be like micromanaging the defense right now. So if we're in a situation where he's having to do that, then it'll be like, cleaning house in the defensive staff.
Yeah.
I think he still is confident in Coach Wilkes' ability to delegate on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of talk about firing Steve Wilkes too, and I think at the end of the season, if we're still having these issues, then I'm absolutely ready to have that conversation. That's probably a necessary change. Mid-season, that's a pretty big change to make, and a lot of it has to do with the perception of that. I mean, that's Coach Drinkwitz's hire.
Right.
That was his hand-selected guy to come in here and lead the defense after deciding to make the change and go away from Ryan Walters. Like, I just don't think that he would make that big of a decision 5 games in unless there's just truly a terrible disconnect behind the scenes, which I'm not sure that's happening, but who knows. So, Yeah, that'll be something to keep an eye on. How does Steve Wilkes and the defense respond?
Well, they have an opportunity to show something here against North Texas. North Texas is 1-3 with a win over FCS Northwestern State, with losses to SMU, UAB, and Louisiana Tech. They have played 2 quarterbacks this year, but it looks like Jace Reuter has taken over the starting job, and he's going to be the guy for the Mizzou game. But both quarterbacks have played in all 4 games so far. So that'll be interesting. They've really just struggled at the quarterback position. Reuter is only completing 53% of his passes, has 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But they don't really have to worry about that too much because they do have a pretty solid running game. They've got a senior running back, DeAndre Torrey, who averages over 5 yards per carry. It's a little bit inflated because he ran for like 225 against Northwestern State. But he still just most recently ran for 119 yards against Louisiana Tech. He ran for 82 yards against UAB, 71 against SMU. SMU and UAB give up about 130 rushing yards per game. Mizzou gives up over 300. So if you extrapolate that out, he might be in for a fun time against Mizzou, like many other running backs before him. North Texas as a team averages over 200 yards rushing per game. So,
yeah, I mean, it seems like North Texas, if you look at their season last year, every single game is a shootout. They were scoring 40 points a game or something like that. But unfortunately, their opponents were scoring 45 points a game or something. Like every game is a shootout. That hasn't really been the case for them this year. I don't think they're quite as explosive as they were last year, but anybody can be explosive against Missouri, though. I think that's something we found, especially if your strength is in the running game. And it just is crazy that we just keep running into these teams where their strength is establishing the run. Our weakness, obviously, is the run game. So once again, we've kind of got that weird matchup where they're going to want to do exactly what they do well, and that's a little scary.
Yeah, any team could make their strength be rushing against Missouri.
Pretty much.
But we are also going up against teams that would really like to run the ball regardless. Yeah. So not the best combination. I honestly think even if the defensive line kind of comes together and there's some new guys in there and they kind of figure a little bit out, if it's not as bad as the Tennessee game, it literally couldn't be worse than the Tennessee game. I still think North Texas is going to do okay running the ball.
Yeah.
And if they were able to jump out to an early lead and then just keep the ball on the ground and try to make this game as short as possible and dominate the time of possession, I could see this being much closer than any Missouri fan would anticipate and make it really, really uncomfortable. I don't think their defense will be able to stay off the field. I think even if their offense does a pretty good job of controlling the ball and controlling the time of possession, Mizzou could put up plenty of points without much time of possession.
Yeah, I don't think the Missouri offense is going to have issues in this game whatsoever. It's just like most of these games, it's going to come down to can we stop? Can the defense show up? And Missouri is 20-point favorites in this game. I don't know that I see that, but never know.
This is the worst FBS defense Mizzou has played so far. North Texas defense giving up over 400 yards per game.
Yeah, North Texas is not a good team at all. They're really bad. If this was the first game of the year, and we didn't know how bad Missouri's defense was yet, I'd be picking Missouri to win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. But knowing what we know about this team, I just have no idea. I don't know what to expect. I kind of agree with you. I still think North Texas is going to be pretty effective on the ground. I think this could be, once again, kind of a high-scoring affair where both teams are kind of going back and forth a little bit, and hopefully Missouri can just get enough stops to stay ahead.
Surely, with how limited North Texas offense is through the air, Mizzou will just sell out on stopping the run. And if the quarterback who has more interceptions than touchdowns and completing 53% of his passes, if he beats you through the air, whatever.
Yeah.
Just
force him to.
Yeah. Put every defensive back on an island, make them cover their guy.
Yeah.
And stack the box, try to stop the run.
I agree.
That's just fun times.
Fun times.
Man. I think Missouri wins this game. I think it is going to be a relief how comfortable the offense looks in this game. And I think Tyler Beatty is going to be efficient like he is most of the time. I think this will be a little bit of a bounce back. I think that Missouri will get burned. Missouri's defense will get burned on the ground for some big gash runs and still not look awesome, obviously. I think Missouri wins this game. I've got it 42-24. I think the offense steps up. I think it'll be close for a half, and then Missouri will kind of pull away.
That was kind of what I was thinking, honestly. I'm going to agree with you. I think Missouri wins. I think it'll be high scoring. It'll be kind of ugly if you like watching Georgia football. But I think Mizzou will win 45-34.
34 would be a lot to give up to North Texas. I'll be honest with you.
I know. It wouldn't be pretty, but at this point, I'd just be happy with a win.
Yeah, me too. I real quick. Obviously, people have been like kind of adjusting their season expectations in the last 2 weeks, and as people that were fairly optimistic in the preseason, I think we owe it to the listeners to just kind of tell them where we're at as far as like wins and losses on the season the rest of the way. I think if Missouri finds a way to get to 6 wins and a bowl game, that would be incredible. And I would consider that from where we are now, that would be an amazing result to the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of insane that we're talking about getting to a bowl game would be amazing. But, we are kind of in a dark spot right now with how bad we looked on Saturday. I mean, just with how bad of performance we're coming off of, I kind of just feel like anything can happen against any team. And anybody could run for 300 yards against us. That's just not a recipe for success. I think if Missouri can figure something out on defense, beat North Texas here, and just kind of get back in the swing of things, I think they can get to 6 wins, and that would certainly be something we could hope for. But
to get to 6 wins, they'd have to beat North Texas, which they will, and then they would have to beat Vanderbilt. They should.
I sure hope so.
They would have to beat South Carolina, which is going to be an absolute toss-up at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think preseason, Missouri's favored by 2 touchdowns probably.
It's possible.
At least 10 points. And now it's going to be a coin flip. So that means you got to get one more game between A&M, Georgia, Florida, and Arkansas.
I don't know. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, that's unfortunately what they've kind of backed themselves into the wall here, into the corner here, and just like basically saying you got to win every toss-up game and a game that you're probably not going to win to even have normal, to even get to what we probably would have considered disappointing before the season. Yeah. So that's not great.
0-3 in toss-up games so far. The easiest half of the schedule will now be behind them.
Yeah.
So.
We already knew all that, Cam.
That's the outlook. It's not as rosy as it once was.
No. Nope. There
might be reinforcements coming this month, though.
It might be. Not this month, but, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
Next year.
Something to get people excited about.
Yeah.
Might be coming this month.
Might be.
All right, let's pick some games.
Alrighty.
This is our famous segment, SEC Pick'em Plus Nebraska. Featuring
a Nebraska
Ben,
fan.
Featuring a Nebraska fan and producer Cameron and a Patreon guest picker in Ben.
Alrighty.
Welcome in.
Welcome in, boys.
Good start.
Alrighty. Recap last week. Cameron got 5 picks right, 1 upset for 6 points.
Wow.
Kyle got 5 picks right for 5 points.
Oh.
I got 6 picks right for 7 points.
Oh, please. Get out of here.
And Tristan got 3 points.
Good try.
Our season total, Cam is still, takes the lead from the guest pickers.
Told you.
He has 30 points. The guests and I are tied at 29, and Kyle has 25.
Ooh.
I'm just pulling a Missouri defense this year. Just back it up for next year, I guess.
All right, let's see the slate.
Alrighty. Game number 1. Number 13, Arkansas at number 17, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 5.5-point favorite.
You go first. I don't know what. I don't.
Give me Ole Miss.
Oof.
I'll take Arkansas.
I'll take Ole Miss.
Ooh.
I could tell you were really going through it on that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
I wasn't ready for that one.
We
got some tough ones this
hard one
week.
off the bat. Ben also picks Ole Miss.
Okay, well, you're on an island.
I'm on an island. All right, Vanderbilt at number 20, Florida. Florida is a 38.5-point favorite.
Florida,
yeah.
Everybody on Florida. South Carolina at Tennessee. Tennessee is a 10.5-point favorite.
This is like sneaky one of those games where a team looks incredible against Mizzou, and it's like, well, they're better than we thought, and then they like really struggle against a lesser opponent. But I still take Tennessee.
Who are they playing? South Carolina? Is that what you said? I feel like South Carolina's defense has actually been okay. Like, they've been in a lot of like low-scoring games. This is at Tennessee. Give me the Vols.
Tennessee.
Vols. Volunteers.
Volkswagen.
Give me the big orange.
Tennessee all around. Number 2, Georgia at number 18, Auburn. Georgia is a 15.5-point favorite.
Give me Georgia, and they'll cover.
Yeah.
Not financial advice.
I saw somebody say, like, can we just get a 3-game series between Georgia and Alabama for the national championship? That'd be pretty cool. Is there anybody out there that's gonna like threaten? Like, is Ohio State?
No, Ohio State's not good. Well, in their standards.
Yeah.
Clemson's not good in their standards.
Oklahoma.
No, they're not good either. No, I just think it's Georgia, Alabama, and everybody else.
Yeah. Well, I'll take Georgia in this matchup. Will they give up more or less than
their average?
Well, more than their average, surely. I was going to put the over-under Georgia's defense giving up 13.5 points.
That's a pretty good over and under. I don't know. I think it'll be right around that.
13?
I'll say 10.
Ooh.
Oh,
wow.
I'd say 13.
Yeah. We're all in the under that I just made up. All right. What's next?
Sounded pretty good. All right. LSU at number 16, Kentucky. Kentucky is a 3.5-point favorite. Give me Kentucky.
Give me Kentucky.
You're kidding me. You guys always like set it up for me to pick LSU.
Ben takes Kentucky.
This is a perfect opportunity.
I mean, I definitely want to take Kentucky, but I have to take LSU.
Oh my gosh.
At this point, I'm in catch-up mode.
Well, yeah. All right, number 1, Alabama at Texas A&M. Alabama is a 17.5-point favorite.
Alabama.
Give me Bama.
Ben takes Bama. And the final game.
Game of the week.
Number 9, Michigan at Nebraska. Michigan is a 3.5-point favorite. Give me Nebraska.
Wow, that was just automatic.
Wow.
Not even a
Automatica.
Grammatica. Yeah, Michigan. Give me Michigan.
Yeah,
all the
Michigan
way.
all day, every day.
Easy.
Yeah.
Nebraska, we just found out, is the second team in, what was it?
Total yards?
Total offensive yards.
Well, they don't know how to
Number 2.
score.
Yeah.
That's important.
Nope.
You got to do that.
They get right down to the red zone. They say, here, you can have the ball back.
Yep. Anyway. Good luck. See you on the gridiron.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Yeah. That's a pretty good little slate of games this week.
Yeah, that is. There's some good ones. Go LSU.
Yeah, I feel like there's opportunity for several upsets there, but there's just enough discrepancy between the teams to keep it from happening.
Yeah.
Although last week, all 4 of us picked the same team on 2 games and got it wrong. So never know.
Never do know.
Never know.
Is that the show for this week? It's about the time we usually wrap it up.
I guess. Little depressing, but hey, I mean, maybe if this is an opportunity though. This is what makes sports fun sometimes. Is kind of that hope to see an improvement, something change. That can be fun.
You heard it here, folks. Getting beat by Tennessee 66-24. That's what makes sports fun.
No, not that, but just the opportunity to improve, to see something change, to see something get better,
evolve
right in front of our eyes, our very eyes. And I mean, this is a huge test for Coach Drinkwitz, and I mean, he's a young head coach. He hasn't been in a situation like this before. He's never had to deal with crisis mode before, and so this will be a really big test for him and how he handles it. And we'll see if Missouri can bounce back, and if they can. I mean, obviously North Texas is not great, but you got to start somewhere, and I'll take any improvement at all.
I'm looking forward to the days where we can see them play good football right before our eyes.
I would also enjoy that, but
Yeah. It's a process.
Can't have everything.
It's a process. We'll enjoy it.
Yes. All right.
Don't take it for granted.
Great advice. All right, everybody. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Lee, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, and Tim Keynes. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week after a win.